Welcome to GARcast, home of all manly media.
Hello and welcome to GARcast. Today we are half a GARcast of two people to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And with me I have Tom.
It's me, the Yugioh man.
Hello.
You may recognize me from randomly tweeting Yu-Gi-Oh art onto your timeline.
Every time you think about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Bam, there it is. And me, who has recently rewatched pretty much all of OG Yu-Gi-Oh! And has many things to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can probably start off then, so I can hear your full thoughts in not German. Sneaky plug to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast Elena was on recently.
Yeah, I was at the Unlimited Ammo podcast, which is in German. They're all super friendly lads, and I'm sort of in their group now. We talked about 3 hours of Yu-Gi-Oh, but it was mostly about also the German part of it, how the whole dub works, what the influence was, etc., etc. But I also want to talk about it with my lovely friend Tom over here, who has probably a lot more insight than I have. I can probably start with OG Yu-Gi-Oh! That, as I said, ran in Germany when I was a teenage kiddo, and I picked it up. Do you feel young or old?
I feel very young because I remember first watching Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was about 5 years old and just started school.
Ooh. Let us talk no more about these things. Or we'll feel very young old in many ways. So it just came on TV, and that was already the first season. I think it's Duelist Kingdom in English, which is the
arc with Pegasus.
The arc with Pegasus, on a dual island that has starships on it. You have to collect starships and get to the bad guy, Maximilian Pegasus. Or Pegasus Crawford, if you're watching the Japanese one. There's strange name changes in everything over there. It's like we probably have to touch on the whole 4Kids debacle as well, because they have done us dirty. I'm saying this right now. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, they mistreated that franchise quite a lot in the West, and
yeah, I mean, I guess I can talk about it more later, but just to the extent of mistreatment, I think that maybe people who just watched the original series didn't know. The 4Kids dub ends at season 3 of GX, whereas GX ends at season 4. so GX is a very different show if you watch it in English, because it just kind of ends on this horrible dark note.
Yeah, I heard about this. It's like a whole season they just went, oh no.
Yeah, can't be bothered. I don't know the specifics, so I probably shouldn't say that. But yeah,
it's probably the same. For example, we in Germany have like OG Yu-Gi-Oh! Complete, but for some reason now on Netflix they only have 4.5 seasons. So you can't watch the whole season 5. It just stops in the middle in ancient Egypt, and now you're stranded there. And I've seen people on Google going, "Hey, when's the rest actually?" And no one knows because it aired. I know that it aired, but Netflix is like, I don't know. We lost half a season. It's gone.
No,
sorry.
No, go for it. I mean, I was just gonna say, thankfully, if you do want to watch full seasons, I think Crunchyroll has them. I don't know if they have them in German, but they definitely have them in Japanese.
Yeah, they stocked up on Yu-Gi-Oh! Thankfully. Oh yeah, this was also where I watched, I think, the first episode of 5Ds in the beginning, but I think that was English only. And then I found other means to watch it. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! I think is one that you should watch in Japanese. For many, many reasons. For censorship, soundtrack, voice acting, etc. Although the dubbed version has a lot of nostalgia, I think, to many people.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to sort of overwrite that nostalgia, especially for voice actors that put in really strong performances like Dan Green in the original Yu-Gi-Oh series. But yeah, you're kind of missing out on so much right through. I mean, even right through up to Zixel, I know, because a lot of character moments were removed from English releases thanks to 4Kids. One of my favorite characters from Zexel, which is Anna Kaboom, has a whole like flashback where it shows her like, punching this guy to stop him like bullying kids or whatever. But in English, that scene just doesn't exist. Like, goodbye character, I guess. Like, it's,
backstory. What's a backstory? We don't need that. Just throw that out. Throw the whole thing out. Oh, we went off on a little loop because, as you can probably hear, there's a lot to talk about this whole franchise. So we could probably just reel it back a little. Like, OG Yu-Gi-Oh! Was originally a Shonen Jump manga that was not focused on card games, which is adapted as the sort of Season 0, as people tend to call it. And it was very much a Fukumoto gamble Zawa manga, where people gamble their souls and their lives, and they also die. The Pharaoh was quite a dark character in the beginning.
yeah.
Who could steal and crush people's... No, not steal, but crush people's souls. And basically cause a lot of damage that way. And there were basically small gambles every different chapter or episode, where you have to bet on pushing the correct button, or I think the first iconic one is you put a pile of money bills on your hand, and also have a knife in your other hand. So you have to stab the pile, but if you stab too deep, you will stab your own hand. But sort of the thing is not being too greedy. So the more you stab the pile of money and get stuck on the knife, you can keep that. But if you just slam in the knife, then, well, your hand is toast. So it was like a lot of mind games and quite a dark Shonen Jump series in the beginning. And then Mr. Kazuki Takahashi came up one day with a Duel Monsters card game, which I don't know what exactly the backstory is, but probably I think it was so popular or successful that people actually wanted to see more of it. And I think probably one of the Shonen Jump editors went to Mr. Takahashi's house, kicked his door in, and went, "Please do more.
Oh God, give me money. I need it."
Yes. It prints money, so please continue printing money. And then probably one day after the door had been kicked in, Konami flew in the window. and
John
went,
Konami
"Hello."
himself climbed up through his window and said, "Kazuki, my man, it's time."
How about some massive shillage? And he probably went, "Yes, that sounds actually good." But what I like about it is that I think the manga was not made to sell card games, at least in most cases. Like, it's still its own thing. Like,
Yeah.
it is a legit Shonen Jump
So there's a
series.
There's a very interesting sort of legacy from Kazuki Takahashi, because, well, he made money off it. He didn't want the reason people played the game to be for money. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of the few card games where you can not win cash prizes for tournaments, at least official tournaments.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
that's one of his stipulations, and it's
actually
still in
cool.
place. Yeah, that's actually really cool. Obviously, side tournaments and stuff, and non-official ones, you can win cash, but most of the time you'll be winning packs and mats and special cards and PS4s. One of probably the best player in Australasia, Bodum Tennick, could probably build a house out of PlayStation 4s.
That is cool. Like, now that you say that, I remember that I often see like sort of lists where people list like the rarest Yu-Gi-Oh cards or something, where they say this is a promotion card that you could only get at this tournament or like this season over there. So yeah, you instead of cash, you just get maybe a promotional card or like something.
So
something rare.
Those are quite valuable, and there's this sort of new concept that's been in place for the past few years. Like if you get to Worlds, you get a Worlds envelope, which has sort of 2 special rarity of like reprints of like classic cards. I think last year's one was like a Monster Reborn and a Red Eyes. And yeah, those envelopes sell for like thousands of dollars because it's such an exclusive thing and collector's item. So,
well, I can imagine like that's probably some super fancy stuff. Okay, like Mr. Takahashi, thank you for being such a cool dude. So yeah, this is how the card game came into the manga, and then said manga was popular, so it got an anime. And there we are. So the anime then got sold to many different countries. And the manga continued to sell as well. But as you can probably imagine with like ongoing Shonen Jump series, at one point the anime will catch up to the manga. So the anime has to do some loop-de-loops in order to give the manga some time. And this is where we come up already with the topic of fillers. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Has quite a few of them. And some of them are good, some are not.
Yeah.
But,
it's more of an interesting effect on the first season. I believe every other season has the manga continuing sort of like after the fact. Or finishing after the fact. So the manga often be different. But it doesn't. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime can just sort of follow the path that it wants. It doesn't stop things feeling like filler. The first season of GX is a really good example of that. There's just a lot of nothing episodes. Some of them are fun, but yeah.
So we cannot book it on the slice of life elements.
The tennis duel probably is vaguely slice of life-ish.
Because I have to completely trust you on that, because GX ran sort of after my time, where I was already out of Yu-Gi-Oh! So I only remember like seeing the first few episodes running on German television. But I was never really keen on, let's say, high school anime. So it wasn't quite my cup of tea. And I was also a big tunie for like ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
I love that in school as well, when we had that in history. It's like, it's the coolest stuff ever. So I was very happy about that, because I really loved that. Went to the Tutankhamun exhibition when it was in Germany as well. That was cool. So GX never hit that draw for me. And then I think maybe I was already like in high school, or like end of high school, when 5Ds came out, and then I was completely out of it. So it was like, okay, many things are happening, I guess. But and then also as he has already apologized to the man, but he has done some damage, Mr. Little Kuribo, who put the card games on motorcycles meme into life. And apparently that made people skip the series, or thought, it's not worth looking at.
Yeah.
So
the kind of offhanded joke had unintended consequences, which sucks. I guess for me, I didn't really watch GX as it aired, because at that point I was a kid. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was kind of a fad. I put my cards in a box. I'd finished the original series. I was like, okay, we're kind of done with this, and I didn't really think about it until I was probably about 11 years old, and I moved to a new town, and in the mornings I meet this guy and would walk to school, and every morning he'd tell me, every morning or like once or twice a week, he'd tell me about the new episode of 5Ds that he watched on like cable television that I didn't have access to. So my first experience with 5Ds was vicariously hearing episode summaries from a guy I walked to school with.
Oh, that is wholesome, actually.
Yeah, and it was years and years before I actually got a chance to watch it. But obviously, like anyone that's heard me talk about 5Ds knows how perhaps too excited I can get about it.
Absolutely. I've seen many a happy tweet about 5Ds from you, as well as my good friend Jenny, who both of you are extremely big 5Ds fans, and was for me like a second renaissance to just see, this thing that I dismissed because I was just not attentive enough. I was like, hey, this actually looks cool. And then I saw the first episode of 5Ds and went, hey, this is actually rad. It is dystopian motorcycle battles in a dark world with just Pharaoh and Setokaiba types of characters who are also rivals but maybe friends. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the sexual tension at the end of episode 3 is so thick you could cut it with a knife.
Yeah, I heard about that. Apparently, it goes quite hard on the bromance.
Yeah, I mean, it probably involves... There's a character... Oh, this is going to be controversial. There's some characters that I'm not a huge fan of. Characters like Crow. But I still appreciate the very heavy-handed bromance.
Yeah, but I feel Yugioh is very much a franchise of bromances, or let's say very intense relationships.
Yeah, there's a few issues. A lot of the modern directors and writers have some interesting opinions on women, which is why we've not had a female core Yu-Gi-Oh protagonist, and while the main female characters in Vrains got shafted really hard.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling me that you were upset that one of the female characters in GX has a really cool deck, but it sort of never gets utilized. Was that the one with the Heart Rose Dragon?
Oh, so that's in 5Ds. That's Akiza and Black Rose Dragon. Yeah, she's the one that kind of gets benched in favor of Crow's, because Crow uses Blackwings, which was a really, really popular deck in the OCG at the time, and then popular in the TCG as well. It's kind of a fan favorite sort of archetype series. It was like an early synchro deck. It's kind of infamous for being an archetype with way too much support cards, and the fact I think it's the second biggest archetype behind Heroes in terms of the card pool.
Oh, heck.
Yeah. And so that's probably why I hold an unhealthy amount of animosity towards Crow.
Yeah, I think, but it's sort of you're not hating the character itself, but more the meta thing he stands for.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have a huge problem with Crow's character. He's fine. He does well enough. He functions pretty well throughout the story. I just it's eternally scarred my view on both Blackwings and Crow.
Okay.
Anyway, I think we were going to touch on filler briefly, and I think we got really distracted.
Yeah, this is going to be, as you can hear, a very structured podcast.
We've planned this out. We've got a very good structure. Obviously, we're well renowned for planning on GARcast.
Absolutely.
And not just winging it every single time.
Nah. We and winging it, this is not actually our motto that has been put above our doors in every country. We can loop back to fillers, because in my extensive rewatch of the OG Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is, as I can see, a hefty 224 episodes, I think I skipped maybe like 80 of that. I think like a good third. I went a little bit quicker into Duelist Kingdom because I wanted to get to the good juicy stuff. That being Setokaiba versus Yugi. But then I think we already get, Capsule Monsters, which is not canon. I think that I skipped that.
Yeah, and I think just after
It's
Duelist Kingdom is Dungeon Dice Monsters.
Which I found cool. I had the Game Boy Advance game of that.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty rad.
I don't know much about it. I don't actually remember much about it. I just remember that it exists.
Yeah, it's a sort of chessboard battle thing where you have like different dice and they fold up into like different labyrinth structures, and you sort of build your own playing field. That was actually kind of rad. I should probably revisit my the game, but I think my cartridge broke, and I think this is why I kind of played anymore. It's like it gets stuck during boot up. It's like, oh no, the ball thing.
It's alright. There's a dirty E word that I'm sure you could manage to do. Yeah.
Oh my, what could that be? Oh, eBay. Yes, I'm going to buy a new cartridge.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
That's what we meant. So that is also, I think, still in season 1. I just glanced over that, and then I think we get to the big part of OG Yu-Gi-Oh!, which I think is like basically everyone's favorite arc is Battle City.
Just to say, Battle City, I think, is where a lot of people really start to remember Yu-Gi-Oh! From, because I'm pretty sure that's when like Joey gets red eyes.
Yes.
So we start to get into Seto Kaiba being very Seto Kaiba.
Yeah, the Kaiba-isms get really strong, and he also gets his iconic outfit in that one, which I found out is a black turtleneck with the purple belts on the sleeves, and then a silver sleeveless coat over it. Apparently that's not all connected. It's like a black turtleneck and then sleeveless coat. It's like my mind was blown when I saw that for the first time. Absolutely. He just is I think I really got back into liking Seto Kaiba, because I always liked seeing him on screen, because he's just such an egomaniac presence. Like he just commands the screen when he is there, because he's completely off his rocker about everything. He's just so much fun to watch. So I really got to appreciate him again, like in my rewatch. It's like, oh man, I remember why I loved you ham. So much fun, this guy. So yeah, Seto Kaiba waltzes in on his helicopter, being all cool, and says, we gonna do tournament. Of course, to get all the god cards and to accumulate everyone in Battle City. Then we also have the iconic duel discs for the first time. Before it was sort of like a spinny JoJo thing he threw. Not really that fancy, but now we have the cool duel disc, which make very cool and satisfying noises when they sort of boot up. Those duel discs, I love them. They're super iconic design. They're really nice. And then we have a big tournament starting where Joey and Yugi, or let's say the Pharaoh, battle all through Battle City to get 6 locator cards. And if you have 6 of them, I think everybody gets 2 in the beginning. You can bet them in duels. If you have 6, you can put them in your duel disc, and then you get the location of the finale, where it will take place. But of course, many things will happen. We get the second bad guy who shows up. It's Marik Ishtar. And he is also a fantastic villain. Absolutely fun, because he has a very dark backstory that doesn't come out in the American version very much, because it was heavily censored in many strange ways. And while I think in the American version he has the aspiration to become the new Pharaoh and rule the world, in the Japanese original it's just he wants revenge because his family and his whole life was just ruined by him being a, what's the correct term, grave guardian?
Oh yeah,
for the Pharaoh.
Crypt Keeper, I guess.
Crypt Keeper, yeah, sorry. To being Crypt Keeper, and he wants actually revenge for that because his childhood was severely scarred from that. Basically, his whole life. Like, he's not spending all of his life on the ground. It would be awful. Yeah, and we sort of get into a family drama over there with his sister Ishizu and his adoptive brother Odion, or Rashid in the original. And I think here we can also already start talking about the censorship from 4Kids.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, or so the anecdote goes, 4Kids apparently just bought anime because they knew it printed money, but they never actually looked up what it was. So it was like, hey, it's an animated thing, it prints money, we will buy it. And after they bought it, they thought, oops, this is actually not 4Kids.
Well, it is 4Kids, but like we're big Western company with weird ass sensibilities, so censorship ahoy.
Censorship ahoy it was. And that actually changes many stories. The most significant change was the Shadow Realm, which has become a meme in itself. Because people don't die in American Yu-Gi-Oh! They just get sent to the Shadow Realm. Just their soul is gone. But in the Japanese version, they just straight up die. Like, they're gone. They're not coming back. It's like, dead. Nada. Kaput. And for example, of course, also censorship of, let's say, anything like violence or bad stuff happening, but the most big one being death. For example, after Marik gets being made into a Crypt Keeper, which is censored, of course, in the American version with like, oh, we tattooed it on his back and it was very painful. No, in the Japanese version, you can actually see that he was bound and gagged and strapped to a stone table and had said markings on his back put into him with a hot knife. That is not a tattoo. It's like, these are actually scars. And like, oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably imagine why that would scar like a 10-year-old kid. Maybe.
Yeah, the small bits of censorship, I guess, range from big story, plot moments, character ideas, to I guess what most people sort of remember and gets memed on now, and it's the silly things like finger guns and all that.
Oh yeah, finger guns. Because we cannot show guns in an American TV show. Aha. So people just dramatically point at each other.
Yeah. So just it's only been within the last sort of couple years that Yu-Gi-Oh! So there's the two separations of Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG and OCG, essentially separated between East and West. So OCG is the Japanese, it's the original. It's sort of where everything starts and comes from. They sort of get cards a couple months before us, or a couple years, depending on how long things take to import. And then we get the art here as well. But from the original set right up to, for years and years, the art was quite heavily censored. Well, not heavily, but you can't. We'll cover up breasts a little bit more. We'll move this out the way. We'll change the cross on Foolish Burial to a rounded tombstone. We'll turn Barrel Dragon from having guns into being like a Nerf blaster, essentially.
Nerf blaster.
What was it? Not Fright Fur. One of the Fright Fur cards, which was like just scissors. It was just scissors. It was just scissor blades. Got turned into like laser beams for some reason.
Scissors are evil.
Yeah.
You can cut yourself with them. That is big ouch.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. Like I said, they're doing sort of things now where they're doing these lost art promotions where they're printing older artworks and giving them out as sort of prizes and stuff like that. So
at least something.
Yeah
I remember the censorship thingies. Like, some of them sort of make sense, like cleavage too big, okay, we can cover up that maybe. Religious symbols being removed, But then it's also like, I think I saw a card where cigar was removed because it was like a rich guy on it.
Yeah.
Like your stereotypical rich guy, and it's like the red wine has to be removed, the cigar has to be removed.
The horns were taken off demons and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Demons don't have horns anymore because no one knows. So yeah, it's a very strange set of rules they have to adhere. Yeah, we can show them on screen maybe again. It's like the different scissors that have to be censored.
Yeah, it's silly.
But why? It's like, it's a bunch of scissors. They're evil.
Spooky.
Spooky scary. Yeah, so censorship in the West has always been very big in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, not only in the anime, but as you can see in the TCG as well. And I think this is why we initially said we got robbed, or at least very much got our original vision of Yu-Gi-Oh! Stolen. Because if we go back to the Malik example, we see that Marik and Ishizu escape into the village that is close by, and by Crypt Keeper's rules, you're not allowed to leave the crypt forever. But of course they do, because they're little kids and they want to see what's outside of there. Then as they come back and spend a nice day outside, they saw that they activated a trap on the door that left outside, so their father had been informed. And in the American version, they just hear some noise and they run, and then you can see, they're very shocked. And then you see that Rashid or Odeon is lying on the ground, and his father's standing there and said, I've punished you for instead of your bad siblings. But with the background, when you sort of know that there is something censored here, you can see, wait a second, they just look way too shocked for somebody who's just lying on the ground. So that was one of the initial moments where I thought, wait a second, maybe I should watch the Japanese original for the first time. Because up to that point I had watched the German version on Netflix, which is based on the American cut. So we have identical censorship on here. So I went to the Japanese version and found the same scene again. And then I saw, wait, this is the original. Because dear Rashid had been lashed with a whip several times. And he's basically bleeding from his back. And he's lying on the ground, completely passed out from pain. And his father's standing above him with the whip still in his hand. And then if you go back, you see, wait, they actually repainted the whole scene and frame to repaint his clothes back. Like, he's completely covered in the censorship. They removed also the whip and the whole blood on the ground. Like, everything, it just looks squeaky clean now. And you just don't know the context anymore. It's like, it makes sense now. These kids are scared and afraid. And that is also what awakes these dark powers of Yami Marik in Marik. Well, oops. So you actually stole a huge part of a backstory. Because it just goes on. Because in the American version, he took the Millennium Rod, just slapped his dad against the wall and sent him to the Shadow Realm. Yeah, in the original, he paralyzed his dad, slapped him against the wall, and then stabbed him to death. He actually went full-on stabbies. So I think it's a little bit, or at least not a little bit, but actually quite eye-opening if you see the original version. I still also want to read the manga, hopefully soonish. I hope I can either find it on Manga Plus, the Shonen Jump manga app. I hope it's on there. If not, then I want to at least, I think, get some of the omnibus editions, the English ones. I hear they're not bad.
I'm sure it's around online somewhere. It's pretty popular.
I think
but
so. Yeah, it should be.
If it's a little old, I don't know what the quality will be like. So
Yeah, because I had looked around and the last version I found was only up to volume 8 in digital. So maybe it was abandoned by scanlators, I can imagine. But yeah, I would have to look over there. But I think the manga version is in a few parts like even more extreme than the anime version.
It's kind of like a lot of the filler. It's not always something you notice as a kid. It's sort of, you don't really view media the same way. You're just like, whoa, Shadow Realm. It's just no moment to stop and think about things.
They go to a digital world.
Whoa. But I think the filler was something I did notice even as a little kid. I have very strong memories of being... I think one of my earliest memories is me being frustrated at a filler episode of the original Digimon series. You can imagine this 3-year-old child being like, why is nothing happening?
The early media critique. You cannot tell why, but it's stupid. This was... I think this was the scene together with another one where I decided I should go over to the Japanese version. And then I noticed even more changes. Because sometimes like stories and character arcs are completely different. And also the soundtrack is completely different. Which I also didn't knew was that 4Kids not only changed dialogues and scenes and rewrote things, they went full out on the whole thing and just replaced the soundtrack as well. So we got robbed of some amazing themes and leitmotifs. Some of them got replaced with cool stuff. I think I have a soft spot still for the American God theme, which is like very big,
very grand.
Latin choir. I think it has a space near to my heart, as well as the Seto Kaiba slightly booby techni leitmotif that he has. But if you just listen to the original, it's like night and day, because they have like a big orchestral leitmotif things where things have their themes. The God theme like sounds so big and orchestral, and that comes into play later on for the film as well, Dark Side of Dimensions, which I saw recently, because they do updated versions of the leitmotifs with like completely newly recorded orchestra sounds plus new choirs and stuff like that. When I rewatched the film in Japanese again, I got goosebumps from that. Because like, oh, I know this is like the leitmotif from that, and oh my god, it's a new one. And so it just absolutely flipped my shit over that. It's like, oh my god, it's so cool. And when I saw that back in the theaters, because I saw German version, which is again based on the American version of Dark Side of Dimensions in the cinema, I remember it sort of being cool. Everybody had a good time. But it's a funny script because they changed many things again. But they also changed the soundtrack again to something else and just removed leitmotifs again. I remember seeing that scene with Obelisk and I think, oh, this is cool. But then rewatching after watching the OG with the themes, we just had such a strong connection to the music where I was like, oh, this is so cool. You not only get robbed of character arcs and stories and dark stuff, soundtrack too. It's just amazing how much they just replaced. Why?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a bit of a mystery at times. I don't know what it's like now. I've not watched Vrains or Arc 5 like dubbed at all. I think I've watched some Zexal dubbed because Konami was uploading it onto YouTube to watch for a while. And they might still be actually, but yeah, there are still definite changes.
Yeah, because I didn't know if the others ever got dubbed.
Yes, I think every Yu-Gi-Oh series gets dubbed.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's still prints money, so makes sense. Probably, but I only remember that people in America, when I just looked up a few reviews, were excited that at least the Dark Side of Dimensions film was mostly untouched, except for the soundtrack again. And the completely different script. Like, it's far more on the funny comedic side than the original one. And so yeah, to go back to our Battle City thing, I think there we have one of the most iconic tournament parts, which is the one on the Zeppelin. The hot air balloon thing, what's it called? Thingy on top there. Those duels are absolutely amazing.
I think that's when the hype probably hits the highest points, at least for a long time. It probably doesn't reach the same levels of excitement until ancient Egypt after that.
Yeah, totally. You have basically condensed into one place every main important player, and then just it's a tournament arc, and everybody gets to play their cool stuff, and they just go at it. And it's really cool. We have Marik fighting Mai. She unfortunately loses. And in this very big story, Khyber notices more and more that he is connected to ancient Egypt, but mostly doesn't believe it. Mostly. But then comes the second version, or let's say the second scene that actually made me watch the Japanese version. And maybe you can guess what it is, which scene it was, or which duel exactly.
Was it? Hang on. Was it the first duel with Ra in it, or was it?
Not quite. It was a Seto Kaiba moment
okay.
where I thought, okay, I have to watch this in original now.
The sacrificing obelisk for blue eyes?
Absolutely. It was that scene. Because we have this setup of Ishizu Ishtar, who has the Millennium Talk. She can look into the future, and has this whole duel just completely planned out against Khyber. And she just wrecks Khyber's deck, like from back to front. To the point where he just only has 5 cards in his deck left. And she has, in her foresight, placed a bomb into her own monster, because she knows Seto Kaiba will sacrifice her monsters to get Obelisk. So it's exactly what he does. He takes over her monsters, makes Obelisk appear. So Obelisk now has a bomb inside him. So if he attacks with Obelisk, he will explode, and his attack points will be deduced from his life points, and he will essentially lose the duel. And because he is the biggest egomaniac ever, he says haha, I'll now attack with my Obelisk. And just when he wants to attack, the Millennium Rod of Marik activates, because DS Seto Kaiba was the initial owner of the Millennium Rod. Basically, Millennium Rod detects my old master is in grave danger of doing a stupid, so activates itself and shows him a flashback that he doesn't understand yet of ancient Egypt, as well as a woman with long white hair that he's bringing to her grave, and he doesn't know what's happening. But sort of Seto Kaiba, in his most chuny way, goes, I don't know what's happening, but I feel so sad. My dragon is crying for me. And basically, he just cancels the attack and says the most badass sentence to ever uttered in Yu-Gi-Oh! He declares, I sacrifice God. And that's exactly what he does. He sacrifices God, Obelisk. And of course, you cannot put a tribute bomb from 2 monsters into the next one, so the whole trap from Ishi's fizzles. And she's completely bamboozled. Everybody is bamboozled. Because Seto Kaiba just decided to sacrifice literal God for his dragon. And that's exactly what he do. And this is how he wins. By basically saying no to destiny and sacrificing God. And As Nietzsche would have said himself, God is dead, and Seto Kaiba sacrificed him. The most beautiful comment under this snippet that you can find on YouTube. From the other podcast, dear colleague Becker also loves this quote because it essentially summarizes all of Seto Kaiba. He's gonna play his dragon and you cannot stop him. He will sacrifice God for that. Which is also a scene that just works in Japanese because I don't know how it was in the American version, but in the German version they call them god cards. Like they don't say gods.
Yeah, so in the English version it was like, yeah, the Egyptian gods or the god cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they never outright say God.
Yeah,
but in the Japanese version they do.
Yeah, it's always tagline as Egyptian, just to make sure you know it's not, just in case you mistook it for the Judeo-Christian God himself.
He got sacrificed too, to play his waifu dragon.
Old man, dead. Dragons, alive. Thriving. Which is really funny because there is a series of Yu-Gi-Oh cards that feature, not quite God, but they essentially look like them. Hang on.
Oh yeah, the religious
the solemn cards.
Censorship as well.
They're not censored from what I remember, which is weird. Solemn. There's like Solemn Warning, Solemn Strike, Solemn Judgment.
I only remember also that they removed like pentagrams on things, especially on Dark Magician's girl's outfit.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Ah, there we go. That's like basically straight up Jesus.
Yeah. Solemn Judgment is... I mean, I'll talk about that later. I could go on a tangent about the Solemn cards, because they're probably some of the most infamously strong, like, traps in all of Yugioh.
Ooh, nice. This very big Seto Kaiba moment was then the second instance of, I should probably watch the Japanese version, and that was the correct decision, as I found out. Yeah, so a whole Battle City arc is like extremely hype. And then suddenly, right in the middle, a filler appears. And I think this is your rant time now for you, Tom.
Oh,
because we go from hype Zeppelin to
the video game. Yeah,
It's gamer time.
So this is when I mentioned, like, as a kid, not liking filler. I haven't seen Yu-Gi-Oh properly since I was like a kid. I've watched a few episodes here and there. But even as a young child, I remember not liking this arc at all. Every duel has this, like, gimmick. Most of them are just unimpressive. There's, like, no excitement or tension. All of the strong character moments, these two people sort of coming to arcs, trying to push together for these ideals that you're having, in the Battle City, on the Zeppelin, gone. Taya has like a miserable duel against the penguin guy. It's just really not fun. Tristan's deck is just not fun to watch, and he loses and becomes a monkey.
He's techno monkey now.
E-monk.
E-monkey.
Yeah, like I said, I probably can't rant about it because I haven't seen it recently, but like if a 5-year-old can watch this and be like, wow, this sucks, you can probably accurately surmise the quality of that whole series.
You can already feel that it is a halting point, because we go from Zeppelin to, okay, we need to park Zeppelin over here. And now we all get sucked into video game. We all get isekai'd.
Not isekai, it's not a different world, it's just a video game.
It's just a video
Sword
game.
Art Online is not an isekai.
Okay, good. Then we all get Sword Art Online into game world, where all the bad CEOs from Seto Kaiba all sit in as different monsters. And they want bodies to get back out of it. Also, Seto Kaiba had a younger brother that was the blood brother of Gozaburo Kaiba, his adoptive dad. But everything is bad, and he was also a madman who wanted to digitalize the whole world and create a world for his deadly ill son. And this is why he also adopted Seto Kaiba, because he should be a vessel for his old son. So that at least makes sort of sense in a character arc way, that it sort of gives Seto Kaiba more agency as well as backstory.
Yeah, it's nice to sort of
and
see...
some touching moments with Mokuba too.
It's nice to see, Kaiba sort of confront essentially his father and, go from there. At the end of it's like, okay, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just a long time of just being shit.
It is. So I did exactly that. I skipped over nearly every virtual thing. I watched the end of Noah's duel, because I think he has like a cool thing with this Shinato's arc, I think it's called. Like his deck master of there's some theme in there. It has themes, many of them.
I'm gonna quote Shriekcast as characters. It has themes. It has facts.
Exactly, it has everything you need. But as you said, I think the battle of Seto Kaiba versus Kozaburo Kaiba is one of my very dear to my heart. Not a favorite, but I like it in the sense that Seto Kaiba at least gets a little bit of closure by battling his dad, and also that he has this quite symbolic monster of an Exodia, but dark version of it.
Yeah.
Because Seto Kaiba lost against Exodia in the very first episode. So it is like sort of his, not his white whale, but it has a meaning to him.
Yeah.
And Kozaburo Kaiba has a dark version of that. And he can only defeat said Exodia by removing cards from the graveyard, which is, I think, a very cool thematic idea, to just let the dead rest, so to speak. Like, he has to actively remove the memories of his father in order to beat it.
Yeah.
That is a cool idea, and I really like that. Also, Mad CEO going mad with Exodia also makes sense.
Yeah, Exodia Necros is I don't think it translated to the real card game all too well, but it was sort of a good ending to a bad arc.
Yeah, I think that summarizes it really well. Dear Noah, who had gone mad in his computer, overtook Mokuba's body, but then regrets everything and then sets everything right. In the meantime, Marek Ishtar, the bad version, he just goes around smashing robots.
Yeah, he's just sort of like, I mean, I sort of said Kaiba was vamping it up before, but he really is. He's just looking at people sleep and he's just like having a good time.
Yeah.
He's probably really lonely.
He just is.
No one's paying attention to his really extra outfit. He can't cry about his backstory. Odeon's not there. Odeon, I'm cold. I'm lonely, I'm hungry. Everyone's playing video games. I don't have a PlayStation 4. I can't join in.
I have nothing to do. So yeah, I think at the end he just literally goes off the ship and just goes, I'm gonna wreck some shit. And so he walks into the whole thing and just sees different computers and laser gun robots and just smashes them with his Millennium Rod, and he goes ha 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 ha, I broke it. and everything just goes kaput. Yeah, he's very happy about that. He's a very chuffed lad. And he is absolutely extra. I completely forgot to mention that. His evil version is essentially evil Super Saiyan with the hair standing up, but also having an extremely fashionable coat, not a coat, a cape. Plus, always looking like he's out of it. His whole character design gets warped and stretched, and he's always completely off his rocker, and it's amazing. I love him. So yeah, he just wrecks some stuff, and then we are out of the gaming arc again, and then whoop, we are back into the canon stuff, and now it's actually exciting again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's when we get Is it Marek versus Yugi?
Not yet. I think we have this 4-way duel.
Oh god.
Where they fight to the top.
I forgot about that.
Of the tower. Yeah. Which is a cool idea, because Joey gets a little moment where he says like, you cannot always protect me, Yugi. I have to stand for myself as well. Like he sort of grows a little bit in that. And then we have the half final pairing, which is Seto Kaiba versus Yugi and Marek versus Joey. And those are extremely hype, as well as extremely well animated. I probably should have looked this up, I forgot it. But they're like some of the best Yu-Gi-Oh animators working on that, who have like these really iconic shots of like shot in perspective, like card drawing, like very cool hand Sakuga stuff. Like some of those like really look cool. For example, which I always found extremely satisfying. I think especially Seto Kaiba does that. When he draws several cards, like he uses a different finger for every card. I think that has like a little like flip, cool movement to it. And I think these final episodes are like often animated by like the cool guys, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these also are all extremely hype and amazing. Like especially Seto Kaiba versus Yugi, because Seto Kaiba is still on his quest to beat the Pharaoh, because he wants to be the best. But and this is what I love about his character, he could actually win. Like he is not a bad player, he's actually very good. But he always loses when he wants to play his ultimate white dragon.
Yeah.
Because it's like too cumbersome. Like you have 3 white dragons on the field, just leave them. You could just attack with all 3 and you're well. No. He just goes full on Chuni mode and says, no, I want to win with my big Drago. And of course it just goes wrong every time he tries to. That's his problem. He doesn't only want to win, he wants to win with style. And that's what breaks his neck nearly always. And that is such a cool character trait, because he's just the perfect ham. I love him. Officially best guy.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people came out of the original Yu-Gi-Oh series with Kaiba as their favorite character. And it's not
I can totally
not hard
imagine.
to see why.
Yeah. Yeah, he is just such a fantastic presence on screen. Again, and also a great rival. Who's just so driven, but you also know like he's not a bad guy. Like, he still has like this big brother theme, and he actually wants to stop his father's work, because he was like a weapons dealer, like weapons manufacturer, and he actually wants to invest into entertainment and build his own Kaiba land.
And he's like giving away jewel discs because he just wants people to enjoy jeweling. Like, yeah.
He kind of is, like, he's spending money like mad. Of course, he has his dark moments too. Like, he has like a specific hatred for Joey. For example, which is also censored again, when after a quite heavy duel, Joey loses against Marek. Like, he falls over and is dead. Like his pulse is gone. And everybody is, of course, extremely shocked, and they rush him away and put him onto machines and everything. And Seto Kaiba is just, ha ha ha, at least I got to see Ra's final effect. And he's just completely unfazed by somebody just dying in his tournament. So yeah, he has like a sort of psychotic side to him as well, but I think it rarely comes out, because I think he's too much preoccupied with himself. Or his brother, because actually if you just look at Mokuba weird, I think you're gonna get wrecked.
Yeah. So I guess that leads to, I'm gonna do a quick detour on the Egyptian gods, their anime effects,
Yes.
and how that affects how people perceive them in the TCG, and it still carries on to this day. There's one of the sort of myths that people have about them is that they're banned. No, they're not banned. In fact, they're really bad cards. They're, I guess Elena touched on before, they require 3 tributes. You have to get rid of your whole field for this one thing, the kind of mediocre effect. I guess I'll touch quickly that obelisks or some small amounts of play in a deck with frogs.
Ooh.
But the other one is people confuse the anime effects for the real effects, despite what the card says.
Classic. Yeah, just
I could probably
who needs card text if you have anime?
Probably link like there's this guy DZ. His videos are okay, but I think one of the most interesting sort of sagas for him is explaining why the Egyptian gods aren't played because they're just not good, and then people trying to actually him in the comments on the anime effects, and it's like but it's not how it works.
Like, especially if we go by anime rules, like in season 1 we have this duel against Mako Tsunami where Yugi plays a moon card to strengthen his wolf, but then he says, I'm going to attack my moon.
Yeah.
So yes, his own monster attacks his own equip card, and he destroys the moon, and then all the sea goes back on the field, and all the fishies are on land now, and now they can be attacked and lose all their attack power. So yeah, if you go by anime rules, not really sure if this is doing a thing here.
Yeah, I've posted one before. They're quite good at making cards based off iconic anime moments. Like one was that Blast Hard by a Tribute, which is from the Shizu Bomb tributed monster, all that kind of stuff. And the other one is there's literally a card called Attack the Moon, where Giant Soldier of Stone it's just doing his thing.
He's gonna do it. He's gonna attack the moon. I can see, yeah, so some like anime cards actually are very cool in the TCG.
Yeah, but I guess that's just a short detour on the reason that
the god cards.
Yes, in the anime nothing can touch Ra because of order of hierarchy
Reasons.
or whatever it was called. That's not how this game works.
No, not quite. I think they had protection from spell and trap cards.
Yeah, so there was this.
All of them.
So there was the different hierarchy. I think Ra was at the top, and then like Slifer and Obelisk were there, and they couldn't be affected by cards of a lower hierarchy or whatever. So yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can play Monster Reborn for them, but then they will only come back for one round, and then they just sacrifice themselves and go away again. That also comes up a few times.
I think the gods can't. I think in the card game they can't be summoned back Monster Reborn because they can't be special summoned, but I could be wrong. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there was something like this. Yeah, you can only get them out by tributes, right? Yeah, so we jumped quickly through Battle City, but actually Battle City is one of the most hypest and fun of the Yu-Gi thing. And as you said, I think the one that people fondly remember the most, because this is like where just all the cool stuff really kicks in. It's not that Duelist Kingdom is not cool, but it's just that Battle City is just a step up from everything.
And then following that, we sort of hit a bit of a lull again.
Yeah, because, well, after we reach the end of Battle City, Marek gets defeated by fusing with his own dragon and then getting exiled from the game, which is, I think, a pretty cool idea. And then the original Marek can sacrifice his bad health by, in this shadow duel, offering him to the Shadow Realm, just yeeting out his soul. And yeah, and at the end of Battle City, finally Yugi has all the god cards and can go to the stone table, which should open the path to his backstory. Well, in the manga it does that, but in the anime it just goes to screeching halt and decides to do a different story, and that is the so-called Orichalcos arc. Things turn evil Because I skipped that again. I remember seeing, I think, up to the point where Yugi turns evil because he uses the
seal of Orichalcos.
Seal of Orichalcos.
Yeah. Seal of Orichalcos is just kind of an alternate Shadow Realm thing.
Yeah, the traps a soul in a card.
Yeah, the best thing about this arc is Mai's back alive. She has a cool motorcycle. That's it.
Mai is there and she's always cool. I love her. Like I like the harpy theme that she has. Like a very cool.
Harpies are a really fun deck actually in the TCG. They've gotten a lot more cards across the years and support, and it's a pretty confident deck. Actually, it's got a lot of really strong effects.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a few other small like wind support cards too. It's cute actually. A guy.
Nice.
Everyone lost their shit last year, I think, because a guy got like top 8 at a French tournament with harpies. Just out of nowhere. No one could track him down for like a deck list though, sadly. But yeah.
Okay, that sounds amazing. So Mai is there. She's cool. It's like we do have different 3 dragons and Monster World. I completely skipped over that. I think I watched like the last episode of that just to be sure where we are. I think they're just stuck in America or something and have to get back. Yeah, as it happens.
Very topical at the moment.
And then when you think, very topical at the moment. Run, everyone. And then and then you think, okay, now it goes back to original content from the manga. Nuh-uh. Now we do another filler arc of a tournament at Kyberland or something, because this is something where I had absolutely like no recollection.
Yeah, so this is probably where my
memory
stops.
It's like
I think I stopped after Orichalcos for a bit and came back once they were doing the Egyptian stuff. So I don't actually think I ever saw Kyberland.
Same. Yeah, it's the tournament with the camp German guy who has a fairy tale theme or something.
I don't know. That's
there's like a guy with purple hair and he speaks like this extreme chuny German that is absolutely suffering to listen to, at least for me. It's like everything is wrong, but he sort of plays it cool and that makes it even worse. Yeah, I think he also has like a little brother, and I just looked at it and went, well, no, and skipped, I think it's like 10 or 20 episodes or something. It's like, okay, we should probably get to Egypt now. And then we do. Dear Bakura, who I think we hadn't talked about yet, who has the Millennium Ring, we find out he's actually the big bad of the whole series.
Yeah, he's sort of not been doing much up to this point. He's had a couple points where he's like gone into an alleyway and was evil.
Yes, he's just evil in general.
He did a lot of evil in alleyways, that's all I remember.
Yeah, he does actually. Because he just yeets people into Shadow Realms.
Yeah, and then once in Ancient Egypt, he sort of, I guess, takes the role of the villain, and we go from there. And we have an arc that sort of drags for the start, but then starts to really pick up.
Yes. We get to, because, which has been a theme for the whole time, is that the Pharaoh doesn't know his own name. He had sealed himself and his name away in order to seal the big evil, Zork, let's say a big demon with a snake that comes out of his crotch. We still don't know why that design is that way. But apparently Kazuki Takahashi once mentioned that he was very feverish when he drew these things, and he was asked, why do you have a demon with dick snake? And he was said, oh, well, I think I was not really well. Probably also had fever. I think there was something.
No one questioned me on it at the time.
In my fever dream. Yeah. I wouldn't probably even question myself at the time, so just take it as it is. And yeah, he's right. Like, it's probably the canon explanation for why Zork looks like he does. Yeah, and so this is the final duel, let's say, gamble. Like, we don't do card games anymore. It's we are in ancient Egypt, or rather a version of ancient Egypt that the Pharaoh remembers. And basically Bakura and Yugi are sort of both being game masters. You can sort of imagine this as a D&D game with two narrators who want to tell the story. Sort of they control the figures and what happens. And of course, Bakura cheats, so Yugi cheats back with different things. But yeah, I like this idea of like having a version of ancient Egypt, but that also has influence on the real world, because this is now our final battle. So if the Pharaoh loses, the world will basically end, just be over.
Yeah, it's got a good aesthetic too. We move from cards to lugging around these enormous stone tablets that just kind of look amazing.
Yes. Yeah, they do. It's like a big hefty stone table and there are monsters in it. And they have these sort of golden wing dual disc, where you just have this abstract concept of car and bar, which is like your own life power and life points. So the more you invest, the bigger monster you can create, but also you have to take care of your own life points, or sort of like life power, so you don't die. And I like this. I feel like this Kazuki Takahashi was sort of waiting for this, because he just wants to do cool stuff. Like, he doesn't care about numbers now. It's like, oh man, I can do like big kaiju fights and like monsters beating up each other and don't need to do math. So I think, yeah, he was really happy about that, because there's like really cool stuff happening in there.
Yeah, and I guess it sort of comes through. There's sort of a couple, cheating that's like a fake out where like, oh, we defeated him, and then he rewinds time. Small bits and pieces there.
Yeah, this is like a very cool thing that Bakura does. I think he has one where he rewinds time, one timer where it is like when it runs out, Zork will awake, and I think another time-based one. And Yugi, of course, has his Joker, like his guardian, I think a gold guardian called Hassan, as well as his friends who noodle around as NPCs that no one can control. And they are on their quest to find the name of the Pharaoh, which has also this very cool meta moment. At least they find his name, because he himself cannot ask people for his name, because this is built on his own memories. No one knows his name, so everybody just addresses him as Pharaoh or Prince. And then he's just like, oh yeah, it actually makes sense, because this is based on my memories. I don't know it, so no one knows it, and it's hidden somewhere. And then they, after defeating Bakura again, Yugi uses his own duel for deck for the first time, because this is going to be important for the last bit. They find his name, but then sort of reality kicks in. Nobody of these Japanese high schoolers can actually read hieroglyphs. so they just stare at this stone chiseled name. It's like, oh, okay, what do we do now? Nobody knows how to read or pronounce that. So yeah, they thankfully solve it by making the name appear in front of the Pharaoh by engraving it in this little necklace that they bought him as a souvenir, and then he can read it. But I think this is just such a cool idea to actually think about. Is, yeah, we found your name. What is it? I don't know. Nobody can read this. Yeah, I really liked this moment. It was amazing. Yeah, and at this point, Pharaoh and Bakura have merged with their own game field. So Bakura has turned into big demon kaiju, and Pharaoh is back as Pharaoh. And we also have all the others who have their millennium items, like Seto Kaiba, the old one, Shizu Ishtar, the first one. And we go on a sort of big war artillery catapult ballista thing. Like, very Lord of the Ringsy, which I liked as a sort of siege duel against this big monster that appears. Then, of course, other big monsters get summoned, like Seto Kaiba, who is also there. Like a modern Seto Kaiba, like summons his ultimate blue eyes with the fantastic sentence, "I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to defeat you." Yeah, which summarizes his character as well. Like, he has been yeeted into ancient Egypt, cannot touch anything, just runs through everyone. It's like, why am I here? But good that he is here. But he at least gets this little character moment that he understands who this white-haired woman is and why he feels so connected to his dragon. Because she was a girl that he saved one day, and they're basically like childhood friends, childhood sweethearts. So it's like, okay, now my visions make sense, and now I know why my dragon is my half waifu.
Yeah, it's good. It kind of feels like a bit of a case of the not gays, but you know,
a little bit. Yeah.
But it's not bad actually. I can't rag on it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit acceptable, because also I think everybody's ace monster gets explained. For example, the Dark Magician was one of the Pharaoh's friends who sacrificed himself by fusing his Ka and Ba energy together, that he became his own monster, as well as the Dark Magician girl being his pupil. So that this was just an avatar she created for fighting alongside him. So I think this sort of makes sense for Kaiba as well. It's like, okay, these are your ace monsters because you were emotionally connected to them.
Yeah, it's nice. I don't actually remember quite how we finish this arc and get to the final duel of Yugi versus Atem.
Yeah, we can basically just say Bakura gets defeated by many things, and the Pharaoh gets his name back, and he can banish the big evil, as well as the Dark Bakura as well. So the world is saved, everything's okay, but of course the Pharaoh has to go back to being dead. He has to go back to his afterlife, because he has been called to the modern world and he doesn't belong here. And the prophecy says on the stone table, or basically on the door to the afterlife, where you have to put all the Millennium items into a big stone, the Pharaoh has to battle one last time against someone who is worthy, and the Pharaoh has to lose in order for him to sort of make clear, okay, there's somebody who's stronger than me in this world and I've served my purpose. The duel can be anything, like for a sword fight, football, whatever, but of course they choose, duel monsters. And I like that in these few final, very, I don't want to say somber, but bittersweet slice of life things where they finally go to Egypt on a boat and everybody comes with them. We have Joey, who wants to battle the Pharaoh because he feels like he should, because they're his best friend. He gets rejected by Yugi, and of course Seto Kaiba, who wants his duel. Like, this man is just completely mad. Like, he absolutely wants to battle the Pharaoh because he feels spurned by his loss in the semi-finals. But also Yugi refuses here, and he says, no, I have to do this. So the very last duel is Yugi versus Atom, the Pharaoh. And this final duel is like such a strong, great high note to end out on, because I really liked it a lot. Essentially, it's a thematic version of Yugi has to become himself, because what we didn't touch upon is he calls, in the Japanese version, the Pharaoh always, I think, Midori no Boku, the other me, and Pharaoh calls him Aibo, partner. And I think this is lost in the English version. The Pharaoh sort of has to, or at least Yugi has to emancipate himself and sort of get some character growth, in the sense that I'm not your other me Like, you are yourself, and you shouldn't imitate other people, and sort of be strong yourself, which is like a very cool, like, classic Shonen Jump morale to end on. Like, sort of be yourself, be strong, don't try to be someone else. Yeah, so we get this final duel of Yugi against Atom, and wow, like, they just go at each other. Because the Pharaoh also says, well, I'm not holding back. Like, I want you to defeat me honestly. And he just goes full on God cards, Dark Magician, and just everything. Like, at one point, like, I myself was even wondering, like, how is he going to get out of this? Because the Pharaoh manages to get all 3 God cards out in one turn through some big combo. And Yugioh actually beats it. You think, wow, that actually makes sense. So he uses Slifer's, or Sirius's, the Red Dragon's effect, who, when a monster enters the battlefield, he shoots like minus 2,000 attack points at the monster. And when it falls to 0, it also gets destroyed. So he weakens monsters, and when they're too weak, they die. And he finds out a combo where he, I think, summons his own monster again and again and again, and also reflects the dragon shot. So it's actually Slifer who takes down all the other gods. I think this is like a very cool idea. So if you don't have anything that's strong enough to beat them, just let them beat themselves up. And this is how he beats the Pharaoh's God cards. Then, of course, he goes back into fighting the Dark Magician and stuff. But there's this very, very cool moment that actually gave me some very big feelings and goosebumps. That is, Yugi plays a card where he summons like a little golden box that looks like the Millennium Box that he has. And he says, I'm going to seal a card in there. And if you play the same card, it's going to be cancelled. But I'm not going to tell you what it is. So he puts a card in there, in this box, and the box just sets away like a continuous trap.
Continuous spell trap, but yeah.
Continuous spell trap. And just sits there. Does nothing for, I think, 2 or 3 episodes. And then, of course, I think Yugi defeats many of the monsters, and then Atem draws, finally, Monster Reborn. And he plays it and says, I'm going to summon Slifer from the graveyard. Surprisingly, this box opens and you see it's Monster Reborn that he has sealed away. And then comes this like super big heavy sentences. Like, you should the dead let rest. Like, don't wake the dead. Like, people, like, if somebody has parted from life, you should leave them. Which is, of course, the big thematic thing of this duel, like the Pharaoh going back to the afterlife, and by like actively canceling such a huge iconic card that we have seen from the first episodes already. It's like such a cool leitmotif thing that actually gave me goosebumps. Like, of course, like we have been reanimating monsters all the time, but actually, yeah, you should just leave things sometimes. And a undead Pharaoh running around is quite a natural. So, yeah, it is time for you to go. Like, no more reanimation. I remember when I saw that, it was like, oh, big oof. Ooh. That was some big themes. Many big theme that did my heart a lot of ow, but in a good way. Yeah, that was an amazing moment. I think I really liked the build up to that. It was like, yeah, we've always seen Monster Reborn. It's like it's a normal card. Why should we ever worry about that? And then the final episode is like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and then of course the Pharaoh loses to that. We even see like Slifer the Dragon like fizzling away into dust. He gets cancelled. And then the Silent Swordsman, which I also like the idea of like silent, because Yugi has not been the protagonist that much so far in his own series, defeats the Pharaoh. And he doesn't say goodbye much. Like, he just says okay, it was a great time together. I'll go back to the afterlife, and then he just does this iconic shot where he goes into the light and just shows a big thumbs up and goes away. This is how the original ends, basically. We see Yugi and his friends go back to school. He says, well, this is going to be my story now, and yeah, I want to be better, and I'm just not someone else's version. Like, I am me, which is a very lovely note to end on. Yeah, that I never saw the ending, actually, because I think in season 5, the last one, ran in Germany way too late for me. So this was also one of the main reasons I wanted to get back to it, because I wanted to see the actual ending of it. And that was very satisfying. I don't know, how do you find the ending?
Like I said, it's a little bit shakier for me in terms of memory. But hearing you describe it, I'm like, yeah, that's very nice. It's very final. It's sadly not final because of some of the movies. But it's good. It's a sort of nice, bittersweet in a way, like well-rounded. Lets Yugi do what he's been trying to do throughout the series. I mean, one of the good things about Orichalcos is I think there's a few moments where Yugi gets to be himself a bit more and stuff like that. So
oh yeah, true. Yeah, so there it ends, so to speak. I think the original series is like 37 volumes of manga, which I think it's not the longest in sort of Shonen Jump standards, but I think it rounds up really nicely, and I want to read it myself one day too, because I just want to take a look at it again, like see what the original manga does, because there are differences there again. Oh yeah, and I think then we can do a little jump of a whole decade or even longer to Dark Side of Dimension, the film.
It's big, it's hammy, it's enjoyable. It's better than the last couple movies. Probably just skip over Pyramid of Light and the other one. I can't remember.
Bonds Beyond
Time? It's the one. They have some good moments, but for the most part they're not good. So I because of that I wasn't expecting much from Dark Side of Dimensions, but I was pleasantly surprised. It looks really good, it sounds really good, and Seto Kaiba is back.
Yes, he is. I think you could even say he's the protagonist of
I think he is, for sure, yeah. He's definitely the main character.
Yeah. So the story is, which I really like, because now I got to appreciate it, knowing the final few episodes. Because Seto Kaiba had originally offered to fight the Pharaoh into the afterlife, and well, he didn't get the chance because Yugi had to. It was his arc. But that means we now have a huge salt pile called Seto Kaiba, who is very adamant that he should have gotten his duel. Like, he still has been defeated by the Pharaoh all this time, and he says, no, I want my rematch. So in the meantime, he has sort of built himself the most amazing holodeck and new duel disc, and he created his own version of the Pharaoh that he can fight as a hologram over and over, like fine-tuning his own deck in order to beat him. But of course, like, he even said himself, like, he finally beats the hologram Pharaoh that he built, and gets very upset because, like, what is the sense of just beating a copy of something? It's just a memory I created. I want the real deal. Then he says, well, I'm going to go to ancient Egypt and just get the Millennium Puzzle and put it back together in space.
Yeah,
because anti-gravity.
I don't know why the space, but it looks cool.
It looks
just
cool.
Being extra, I think.
He's just being totally extra. Like, he built himself like a whole space elevator plus space station just to rebuild the Millennium Puzzle. Like, it doesn't get more extra than that, I think. And so he gets the thing, wants to build it back together. Then we get sort of a little side villain called Diva, because as we found out, when the Pharaoh disappears from the world, the Plana will appear, which are a sort of higher human beings group who can all network their souls together into different dimensions. And they're sort of taking care of Earth when the Pharaoh is away. And it turns out they all were apprentices of Shadi, the Millennium's item keeper. And we also turn out, he got killed back then by a young Bakura when he got the Millennium Ring and got possessed by it. So we get some extra backstory for Bakura and Shadi as well in that. But yeah, and the Plana, these creepy, mind-bending kids are connected with each other, but if there's like one bad egg in the whole bunch, then everybody gets rotten. And of course there's Diva, who is very angry that his master Shadi got killed, and wants to make sure the Pharaoh never comes back, because when the Pharaoh comes back, they will all lose their powers. But of course, as we know already from the beginning, Seto Kaiba has a very big interest in bringing back the Pharaoh. So we already can see, there's going to be conflict between these two. One wants to absolutely make sure the Pharaoh does not come back, and the other one wants to make absolutely sure that the Pharaoh comes back. And in the middle we have Yugi, who is absolutely oblivious to both of these, and then stumbles into this whole mess, so to speak. And Seto Kaiba is being the most extra to ever extra. He builds himself a whole stadium and fills it with people just to fight Yugi and to promote his new duel disc, which is completely hologram themed. And also, in order to promote it, he let jets fly over the stadium. The jet crashes into the stadium and gets defeated by a white ultra blue eyes. And then he emerges from the flames like a mad Steve Jobs and talks about how duels change your own life. He is completely off his rocker, and I love it. And yeah, I have invited over 20,000 people into the stadium just to see me battle this guy, and everybody and the crowd goes wild. So yeah, he's just mad with power and wants the Pharaoh back. And there's like a very cool theme in there, because we can see that Yugi has made his peace. Like he says, I miss the Pharaoh, I really do. But we also have to accept that he's dead. Like he has gone to the afterlife. But Seto Kaiba cannot accept this. Seto Kaiba actively cannot accept death. And we have this very emotional moment, I found, where Yugi just interrupts the duel in the middle and there's no music playing and everything. He puts the Millennium Puzzle back together and says, okay, look, Kaiba, you have to accept this. Like, if Pharaoh is not coming back, and nobody can change that, not even you, with all of the things you can do. You just see this. I don't know who drew it, but it looks so good. Is this completely just mind-shattered Seto Kaiba just staring at this Millennium Puzzle and trying to grasp the concept of death that he cannot do. And he just looks so, like, emotionally destroyed while he looks at it. But then you can already see that he's bouncing back, like his face hardens again. And he says, no, I don't accept it. Like, he's full in denial that the Pharaoh is dead. He's like, no, he has to be somewhere out there. You're here. Millennium Puzzle is here. Just call him now. It's like, no, not possible. Of course, then more villain shenanigans happen. And Pharaoh comes back for once to do one thing in the duel to save the day from Bad Diva, who has been taken over by the Millennium Ring. But yeah, the problem was that in this duel, this tag team match, Seto Kaiba had sacrificed himself. Also a big character moment for him. Like, him not being the center of attention for the first time and just sacrificing himself for Yugi is a big step for him. But the problem is, while the Pharaoh came back for a few minutes, Seto Kaiba was just yeeted out of a dimension. So yeah, he completely missed him. So when Seto Kaiba comes back, Pharaoh is gone. And he says, well, I told you that he's alive, haha. And yeah, after they is saved, everybody finishes high school. Taya goes to America to become a dancer. I think Tristan said that he will start working at his dad's company. Yugi wants to become a game designer. And he even says in the Japanese version that he wants to go to Germany for presenting his game at a convention. And that's like very cool because Germany is like a very big like tabletop country, so that actually makes sense. But yeah, Seto Kaiba is the only one who is still mad with power. Builds himself a time machine with the planet technology that he stole. And just yeets himself into the afterlife or travels back in time so hard that he meets the actual Pharaoh. Just he goes back to ancient Egypt. Like, he just breaks all the laws of the universe in order to see the Pharaoh again. And the film ends on this very cliffhanger but still wholesome note that he just straight up waltzes into the Pharaoh's palace. You see him just slap all his duel disc and the Pharaoh gets up. And they look at each other and they smile. And you see, okay, they found each other again and they will duel. And then the film is over.
Fellas, is it gay to break all known laws of reality to meet your rival again?
Is it? Yeah, like he goes to such length. Like, he is just absolutely obsessed with the Pharaoh. Like, at this point, you can ask yourself, like, you want this to be canon, right? Mr. Takahashi Sensei, are you saying something to us? Are you sure? Because this was written by Kazuki Takahashi and completely scripted and everything by him. So this is a canon sequel and it's sort of a canon end to this. But yeah, Seto Kaiba goes to many, many lengths to see his beloved rival again. And honestly, I respect that. Like, no boundaries whatsoever, just follow him to the afterlife. But they're happy to see each other again, and that makes me happy too. Yeah, so Yugi has his own little ending as well, that he will be happy. And Seto Kaiba has found his peace again, like he traveled either back in time or in afterlife so hard that he saw his beloved again and can duel into all eternity. Amen.
Yeah.
I like this.
I enjoyed it. It's a fun watch. It's a good time. It's easy just to sit down and blast through. The movie pack of cards from this had an unintended or possibly intended consequence where they printed a Blue Eyes support card that made the deck meta. In fact, it made it so meta that it won Worlds in 2016. And the World Championship final was a Blue Eyes mirror match where both players bricked.
Okay, that sounds great. Because I bought myself the movie pack as well for fun, because I wanted to have it. Because I still am also a big White Eyes Shuni. I was like, I need all of these. You told me that. It was like, oh god, this is actually amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you pulled the alternative dragon, which is the super meta, super strong card.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, there's also Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon, which is just a attack into a 0 defense position monster. Win the game. Big number.
Ah, my favorite. Big numbers, monsters with big numbers. That is a good. There's like this distinguished what's it called? like 3 different player groups that Magic the Gathering has penned. It's called, they wanted to have like a psychological group for every player who plays the TCG. And there's, the first one is Timmy. Timmy is a player who actually wants big numbers in big punchy things. And he's happy when big punchy things happen. Then there is, I forgot the second one. I think Tim. No, Timmy's the first one. Last one is Spike. There's something like Chris is a combo player. Like they see TCG as something like an extension of their own character and like tinkering and deck building, and are happy when something works, and maybe the decks sometimes don't work, but then they will tinker some more. And yeah, they see a TCG as a creative outlet. Then the very last one is a Spike. That is someone who just wants to win. These are people who just will look up deck lists and always be up to date with the meta and everything. Like they don't play as a sort of self-reflection or self-display. They just want to win. And they will do anything for it, even if they're being called uncreative or just copying the meta. And yeah, I found out I'm very much Timmy. Big numbers go boom.
Yeah, Yugioh, it's kind of like you can play combo decks, you can play control decks, or you can just play bungus.
Well, like bungus. That sounds good. I've created the big monster, and I'm going to punch someone with it.
The Yugioh community has kind of collectively adopted the term big bungus for large monsters.
Okay, I love this. This sounds very good. Big bungus. Yeah, so I found that I'm very much the type for it, because I still play Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links on my phone, where I just build myself wombo combo blue eyes decks. And it's very fun to actually slap someone with it. And if you actually play Seto Kaiba, you also get like the best lines to throw into people's faces.
That's probably the best part of Duel Links is the character voice lines.
Yes, they're so good. Nothing better than playing Seto Kaiba and just smashing little school children into the ground and insulting them while at it.
Yeah, I touch Duel Links from time to time. It's a pretty different game to the TCG. There's a different card pool. It's to the point where they have some cards that are anime exclusive, actually, only in their card pool.
Oh, cool.
Which is interesting. I hope we get some of them one time, because the Arcana Force, the coin flip archetype based off the Arcanas, there's a bunch of cards missing from that in the TCG, and they've filled them out a bit more in Duel Links, which is neat.
Okay, cool.
But it also leads to very strange meta games and decks that could not function in the TCG or have not functioned for years, surging to the front of the meta game. So an early one was Cyber Angels, and then there was also what was the other one? Like Fur Hire, a deck that was like probably one of the worst things printed in the last 3 or 4 years as a Yu-Gi-Oh archetype, was the best deck in Duel Links.
Shout out to our homeboy Rata, whose videos I extremely enjoy, and that kept me up to date with everything Yu-Gi-Oh! Despite me not being in it.
Because there's so much going on, there's a lot missing out. If you wanted to keep up to date, I could probably recommend you some fun people that sort of make digestible, fun content. But if you're not interested, it's probably not the best idea. But Yu-Gi-Oh! I guess we're quite lucky. There's quite a good scene in terms of content creators. A lot of people are quite unique, and they work together in quite interesting ways. I'll take the chance now. I guess I'll pop over and I'll just do a quick summary of my thoughts and refresh of other Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. GX.
Yeah, so I'll probably just end up on Yu-Gi-Oh! Big fun. Go watch if you haven't. And Dark Side of Dimensions, extremely rad. Seto Kaiba, bestest lad. Bromance, very good. Can understand, is partly canon now, I think. Maybe. And I'm happy that I revisited it. It was like a really good time. And I'm happy to also probably revisit like many other things, as well as start 5Ds soon. It's good. Yeah, stage is yours.
Yeah, so coming off that sort of bittersweet ancient Egyptian, final arc, we moved to high school in GX, and it's pretty jarring, and I think a lot of people did kind of drop it.
Yeah, that was sort of what happened with me.
I mean, to be fair, I had very little interest in it for the longest time. I guess GX is probably one of the most, for those people that stayed watching and kept playing, it's a very sort of influential series in terms of like sort of popular archetypes and things to get support. Heroes are just so big. So many people's sort of favorite deck. It's a sort of mishmash of all different types of themes and positions. Cyber Dragons is another sort of huge fan favorite deck and archetype. Alexis is such a popular character. Ancient Gears are an incredibly popular deck. It just goes on and on and on. But I guess the first series of GX is, at a charitable guess, about half filler. Some of the episodes are really good and really funny. I think one of the early ones is there's a guy who got lost out in the forest. He was a student, and the whole time he's just been practicing drawing, so he can always top deck the best card.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
The episode is framed as every day there's like one special sandwich that gets put into the pile, and every morning, Judai goes in and he pulls it out, and then he stops being able to pull it because this guy's been sneaking in and stealing it every morning. So they have this duel, and it finishes on a really funny note that I won't spoil because I think it's a good episode to watch. There's another one which is tennis, which concludes on the perfect summarization of Judai's character, in which he plays a weird tennis duel against a guy, because he wants to hang out with Alexa on the stipulation that whoever wins becomes her fiance. And the final line of the episode is, "What's a fiance?" There's a great episode where he duels against a guy that's stolen Yugi's deck. It's, like I said, there's a lot of sort of small, fun filler episodes, but I think there's season 2 where it sort of picks up, and you get the Society of Light, and you get Sartorius, and you get Manjomi becomes this amazing chaotic character. He starts off as just sort of this rival edgelord, and he becomes this insane chaotic character, and he comes around, he learns a lot about what cards you use and what that means, and having confidence in yourself as yourself, blah blah blah. And then the third series, it's very strange. Judai essentially becomes a extra dimensional conqueror and stuff. It gets to a point where
as one does normally,
you can see the progressions change quite a bit, but yeah, from season 2 the stakes sort of ramp up quite a lot. It also sort of, I guess, treads into the territory of where this kind of is explicitly gay, with playing against like rainbow dragons and Jessie and all that kind of stuff. So
yes, the big themes continue to happen.
And then there's 5Ds, which you mentioned has this. It starts off with this amazing sort of dystopian city setting, this really gritty sort of fight your way up. You try to remove yourself from this like destined society shit. That sort of gets off kilter a little bit of the way through, but it's, the music is amazing, the visuals are amazing. Synchro summoning is such a fun mechanic for dueling. It adds a lot to the duels. There's these small tuners, they do different things, and you can pull out different ways, different monsters. I think one of the early ones is Stardust Dragon is a card that can stop, if something's going to destroy a card in the field, it can sacrifice itself to sacrifice itself, negate the destruction, and then come back at the end of the next turn. And then there's a cycle with that where there's this really sort of, I guess it's sort of part of Akiza's arc, where she's constantly trying to destroy with Black Rose Dragon, and then he keeps sort of stopping it and bringing it back, and it's really well written to up to a point. We won't talk about that. Zexal sucks to start off. It's just miserable.
Okay.
I've only just sort of reached the point where it starts to turn around. It's good because the train girl's in it, and
Trains.
There's this amazing scene in her first duel, where Yuma's thinking, is like, oh, she's got 5 cards sitting in her back row. I have to be careful to play around with the stuff. And she just goes, I destroy all 5 of my back row cards in order to summon 1 monster.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
Arc V, I've only seen bits and pieces. From what I understand, that falls apart into a convoluted story mess partway through. And Vrains, which starts off pretty strong, and then it's sort of like, hey, Yusaku, it's been like 50 episodes. Are you gonna lose a duel yet? And he's like, nah. And I sort of stopped watching, and apparently jumped the shark, and people's bodies get overtaken by AIs, and characters get forgotten, and main characters change, and it's just like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I have never really heard anything about either Zexal Arc V or Reigns. I think maybe in the beginning when they started, but then just fizzled out. Like, when people talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, it's always like the first 3.
Yeah.
Because I think they probably also stood the test of time.
The best for sure. Zexal later on apparently has some really funny sort of memorable moments, but Arc V starts off and people are calling it the Evangelion of children card game show. I'm not even joking.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
But yeah, it falls apart real hard. To the point, from what I understand, all these characters are there and they're smiling. None of their stories have been resolved. Everything's over, but nothing's
Everybody
resolved.
Everybody clapping, going, congratulations. And nothing was solved ever.
Yeah.
The end.
But the main thing I do with Yu-Gi-Oh is I play it. I'm a sort of serial player for about 3 or 4 years now. I got back into it from when I was a kid. Started playing it properly. It's fun. I like I like learning cards and learning interactions and having these sort of cards around. You can be like, I know this old card. I can slot this here and do this with it, and this interaction works and this one doesn't, because the difference between a card saying if before an effect and a card saying when before an effect is insane, to the point where I can't explain it in any kind of timely manner. And it's probably what stops some people joining Yu-Gi-Oh! But the game's been exploding over the past few years, which has been nice. It means there's like lots of new people. I can go to new places and meet other sort of newer players and really bond over that kind of stuff.
Totally. I see that in my hometown as well. We have like a few like 2 bigger card game shops, and one of them like regularly hosts Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. Like I think at least two a week. Like one like in the midweek and one on the weekend. And they're like officially licensed thingies. I think they can give out stuff as well.
There'll be an OTS, I think it's called, the official tournament stores and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like always full. Like, there's at least 25 people or something in there, or 26 in order that everybody can play. But for me as a Magic player, when I compare that, it's very often just half. Like maybe 10 people for a tournament, maybe 15 when it goes up. But Yu-Gi-Oh is always packed, and I'm quite surprised, and it also makes me happy. Like I bought a Kyber structure deck just because, and just slapped it into my old Kyber deck. Like see if something comes out. Actually, maybe I'm just gonna take the old deck, just challenge someone at the store for like shits and giggles. I would love to.
Yeah, it's a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players are really welcoming. They'll talk about cards and choices with you in really, really sort of positive ways, and sort of like explain things, or like the thing about all these archetypes and themes that all play sort of slightly differently and do different things is there's always something that sort of fits your playstyle and clicks with you, or just fits your aesthetic sensibilities, and you're like, this is what I want now. So one of my favorites is the literally Dante's Inferno,
nice.
or like little haunted pieces of armor that come to life and overlay to form these big ghostly knights and stuff like that.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, so
well.
it's fun. Like I said, I've surprised how much I've gotten into it, and I think the community definitely has helped me get more and more excited about it.
Very nice. Well, it makes me happy that the game is going well. We could probably take a teensy tiny look at Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. I watched the first 4 episodes. It's fun so far. I like that we have 4 different protagonists, all of them slightly different. But it's like a very light-hearted high school story that could get darker, maybe, because we have a bad corporation that has like a colorful G as a symbol, and they have drones and cameras everywhere, and they think, maybe it's Google or not. Yeah, you can't even trade cards without a camera being present.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a very oppressive state where card games happen. But this all only happened in the background so far. Yeah, I like it. My favorite being the student council president character, who's like this very uptight guy who's like glasses and always has like his collar like buttoned up to the top. What I like about him that he's sort of the guy who just wants to uphold all the rules and everything has to be squeaky clean and all the best. And what I like about him is that he upholds his own rules everywhere he goes. For example, also the rule that you cannot run in hallways in a school. So you never see this guy running. Like, he power walks everywhere he goes.
Amazing.
That's the best thing ever. He's like a very strict, not Seto Kaiba, but sort of in the same way. And my favorite being, I just threw myself away in laughter was, I think he's panicking about something, but he has to get something. He power walks away while screaming. Power walks away while screaming, and you just hear him just power walking away. It's like, ah! Then you wait a few seconds, then he comes back, ah! I loved him. He is such an over-the-top character. He's great. I hope to see more of him soon, because the 4th episode was his like proper introduction. You get like a little introduction for everyone in the first one, and then everybody gets their own. But his one was the 4th one, that he is a sort of samurai style deck. Well, not quite samurais, but all they called like the Muso games, like Dynasty Warriors thing. He also dons like a full outfit of it when he duels, and he gets like 2 lackeys left and right who hold his cards and draw his cards for him. Because he doesn't touch them himself, he just orders people around to do it with like a stick. But then, of course, he gets like a little character arc, and then by the end of the duel, he can hold his own cards. Like, okay, I should probably do this myself. But yeah, I like him. He's like a very fun character to watch.
Yeah, I guess I'll just explain what the difference is for Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s quickly, as it uses a new sort of format called Rush Duels, which is OCG exclusive physically, at least at the moment. And you can play it online. As essentially, you can just normal summon as much as you like and build a board, and then at the start of your next turn, you just draw 5 cards again. So it's fast, it's chaotic, it's a little bit insane. But it's from what I've played of it, it's fun. There's your card pool is just kind of small at the moment, so just be waiting on a couple other like physical releases, I guess, to really buff that up.
Yeah, it is really like that. Duels go super fast in this anime, and also things can happen at rapid speed. But I like it. It has like a nice drive to watch. Should we round up our little Yu-Gi-Oh?
I think so.
podcast?
I've been like lying in bed because it was cold and my legs are starting to go numb. So I think I just need to get up and
Oh no!
get circulation.
Oh, totally. And I should probably go to
Oh
sleep.
yeah, right.
Time
the-
time to roll into bed.
That's pesky time difference, huh?
Why is Earth so round? And why is just night on one place? Cannot accept.
Flat Earth would be nice. Sadly, it's not
Yes.
what we've got.
Sadly, not yet.
No, not yet. That sounds like a
So-
threat.
Not yet. Thank you everyone for listening to our lovely Yu-Gi-Oh! Half ramble, half review, or a little look back at the original and the other franchises.
A cute little Yu-Gi-Oh!
I myself will get to 5D soon and be happy
Yes.
about it.
Yeah, thanks for listening to our like little weird Yu-Gi-Oh! Retrospective. It was nice to just ramble, I guess, for a bit of time. I've got a new computer, so I can record properly now.
Yes. We enter a new era of recording.
A whole new lane where I'm present. It's revolutionary. It's called showing up the podcasts.
Wow! Oh, it was great to have you here. The proper pro who can talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I could probably just only talk about the original. And there's like, what are rules? I still don't know how Synchro Summon works. You probably have to explain it to me one day.
It's just math. The level 3 monster plus level 4
okay.
monster, level 7 monster.
Ah! Now I get it. Okay. I slapped the stars together and then you
Yeah,
make a new...
people give Yu-Gi-Oh! Grief for being complicated, but it's pretty simple. Synchros, you add up. XYZs of the same level. Your two things are the same level. Put them over each other. You get an XYZ monster. And Pendulum is just like, you've got a scale. The things have effects in scale. Depending on if you have two things in scales, like 1 to 7, you can summon monsters level 1 to 7 and, from your hand. Or from your extra deck if they're Pendulum monsters. That's probably the...
Okay, I have learned something
Links
new
have
today.
arrows. You can only summon link monsters to either the extra monster zone or where another link monster points. It used to be more complicated, but they simplified it just in April. So yeah.
Ah, nice. Very good. So yeah, and we also learned something new today. That is very good.
Yeah. Don't listen to the people online. Life's easy.
But thank you for listening to us. And you can always send us comments, visit our Discord, like, share, and subscribe. Leave us a thumbs up, and we read all the comments because we only get like 2 comments a month, and that is all like a big celebration if we get one.
My favorite comment is still the guy that I had an argument about Knights and Magic with, and then he took it to Discord DMs, and he was pretty civil. What else was there?
Nice.
If you see my Twitter and the bio, and if you have any Copcraft game theories, I want you to DM
Please.
me with your most takes.
All the takes.
I guess that's an insight into the future thing. I have seen Copcraft. I have been enlightened. I watched NCIS Japan, whatever it works out to be.
Oh, damn. We will tackle Copcraft 100%. I watched episode 1 and was already confused, so I have a lot of catching up to do, but you can expect something on Copcraft as well. Because it's Cop, it's Craft, it's Zenigata Minecraft. Yes.
Zenigata Minecraft skin.
Yes, exactly. Just that for 2 hours.
It's rotating slowly while like
it probably rotates.
Yeah, rotate slowly while like techno pop music plays in the background.
I would have said soft Lupin vaporwave plays.
Lupin the Third vaporwave. I didn't think about that. That works though.
Does that exist? We probably have to look this up because this sounds like it should exist.
Now, actually.
Now we have a new quest. We have something to do.
We should finish now before we get distracted, though.
Exactly. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening. You know where you can find us. Always write us lovely messages, visit us, and see you all again for next episodes. Bye-bye.
Be well.